Derek's badge still works at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. That's not an accident. That's the point. He's sitting in a glass-walled conference room on the 34th floor, laptop open, second monitor glowing. Half a protein bar next to his keyboard because dinner happened around 2 and he hasn't eaten since. His base salary is $195. His total comp, once you fold in the bonus and the vesting stock, lands somewhere north of $340. He has a corner view of the skyline. He has a title that makes his parents proud at Thanksgiving. At 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, he is texting his wife almost done for the third time tonight. Does not believe himself when he types it. Derek isn't stuck because he's broke. Derek is stuck because he's rich. Or rich adjacent. Rich enough that leaving feels insane and trapped enough that staying feels like a slow leak in something important. There's a name for this, and once you learn it, you will start seeing it everywhere. My name is Horizon, and I spend way too much time thinking about why smart, high-earning people feel like prisoners inside their own success. If you've ever looked at your paycheck and felt trapped instead of grateful, stick around. Subscribe if this is useful, and hit like if it hits close to home. Let's define the term properly, because most people use it wrong. Golden handcuffs aren't just a good salary you're scared to lose. That's too simple. Golden handcuffs are a structured financial incentive, unvested stock, a deferred bonus, a pension cliff, a retention package, specifically engineered by your employer to make leaving mathematically painful at exactly the moment you're most likely to want to. It's not an accident that vesting schedules are usually 4 years. It's not an accident that the biggest chunk vests in years 3 and 4, right when burnout typically peaks. The trap isn't a side effect of your compensation. In a lot of cases, the trap is the compensation. An analysis of nearly 1.75 million employee survey responses found that golden handcuffs was one of the most common phrases used. People are nomming the exact mechanism keeping them somewhere miserable in real time and still not walking out the door. That's not irrationality. That's the system working exactly as designed. So how does someone end up here? It rarely happens in one dramatic decision. It happens the way most financial traps happen quietly, one reasonable choice at a time. Year 1, you take the job because the offer is genuinely good. You get a signing bonus, a chunk of restricted stock that vests over 4 years, a base salary that finally makes your parents stop asking when you're going to get a real job. You tell yourself you'll stay 2 years, learn the ropes, then reassess. Year 2, the first stock tranche vests. It's not enormous, but it's real money, and walking away now means forfeiting everything still unvested. You also just got promoted, which resets the clock, new equity grant, new 4-year cliff, stacked on top of the old one. Your monthly expenses have quietly grown to match your new income too. Nicer apartment, a car upgrade fits the job title. The lifestyle upgraded before you noticed it happening. Year 3 is when the math turns genuinely brutal. You now have 2 overlapping vesting schedules, a mortgage or a lease that assumes this income continues. A bonus structure where the biggest payout is specifically timed for December, 6 months from now. Leaving in June means forfeiting a bonus you've technically already earned through effort but not through the calendar. So you wait 6 more months. Reasonable, right? Year 4, the pattern is fully load-bearing. You're not staying because you love the job. You're staying because the exit cost has become larger than the daily cost of staying. Every year you stay, the unvested balance grows, which means the exit cost keeps growing too. The trap doesn't loosen with time. It tightens. This is where loss aversion takes over. Kahneman and Tversky's research on prospect theory found that losses are felt roughly twice as intensely as equivalent gains. Losing $50,000 in unvested equity doesn't feel like giving up a future maybe. It feels like an active loss happening to you right now. Meanwhile, the gains from leaving, more time, less dread, a Monday that doesn't feel like a countdown, are abstract. Your brain weighs the concrete loss far more heavily than the fuzzy gain, and the decision makes itself before you've consciously made it at all. Then there's identity fusion, which is the part almost nobody talks about. When your title is senior director, when your LinkedIn headline has the logo of a company everyone recognizes, when your parents introduce you by your job at parties, Some of your actual sense of self has quietly merged with the role. Leaving doesn't just feel like a career change. It feels like a small death of the person you've spent years becoming. People trapped in the rat race generally have their identity distributed across multiple sources. People deep in golden handcuffs often have identity concentrated almost entirely in the job. The job stops being something you do and starts being something you are. Let's talk about the actual math, because the math is where this gets interesting. Say Derek's unvested equity is worth $180,000, vesting fully over the next 22 months. If he leaves today, he forfeits it, all of it, Cliff style in most standard plans. That number feels enormous. It feels like the whole decision. But here's what the number doesn't tell you. What is 22 more months of this job actually costing him? Sleep. His marriage getting the leftover 4% of his attention after work eats the rest. A body that hasn't seen the inside of a gym in 8 months. A father who is aging in another state that he keeps meaning to visit once this project wraps. None of that shows up in the vesting schedule. None of it is denominated in dollars. This is the same blind spot from a completely different trap, the sunk cost fallacy. I've already put in 3 years, I can't leave now, is functionally identical to, I've already spent $40,000 renovating this house. The 3 years you've already spent are gone regardless of what you do next. The only real question is what happens to the next 3 years. So what do the people who actually escape golden handcuffs do differently? It's rarely dramatic. Nobody quits in a blaze of glory on a Friday afternoon. The first thing they do is put an actual number on the trap. Not a feeling, a number. What is the unvested balance exactly, and on what exact date does the next meaningful chunk vest? Vague dread keeps you frozen. A specific date on a calendar turns an abstract cage into a concrete, plannable exit ramp. It converts an emotional problem into a scheduling problem, and scheduling problems are solvable. The second thing is they build a parallel identity before they need one, not after. This is the single biggest predictor of who escapes cleanly versus who stays stuck for another 5 years. If your only sense of competence lives inside your job title, quitting feels like stepping off a cliff into nothing. If you've spent even a few hours a week on something else, you already have solid ground to land on. It doesn't need to be a business. It doesn't need to make money. It just needs to exist before the day you need it, so the identity isn't manufactured out of panic. The third thing is they reframe the golden handcuffs not as a moral failure but as a temporary, deliberate trade. There's a real difference between I'm trapped and I hate myself for it, and I am choosing to hold this position. Same external situation, completely different internal experience. One is a cage, the other is a bridge with a visible end. And the fourth thing, the one that actually requires the most discipline, they stop letting the golden handcuffs justify lifestyle inflation. This is the trap inside the trap. High earners respond to exhaustion by spending more, a nicer car, a bigger place, more takeout as emotional compensation, which quietly raises the monthly number they need to sustain, which quietly raises the income floor they can't drop below, which quietly makes leaving even harder than it already was. The handcuffs tighten themselves, and you're the one turning the key. Ronald Reed, the Vermont janitor, never had golden handcuffs because he never let his spending rise to meet an income that could have supported a very different lifestyle. Richard Fuscone, the Merrill Lynch executive with the Harvard MBA and the 18,000-square-foot mansion, had the opposite problem. An income that kept climbing and a lifestyle that climbed right alongside it until the two were so fused together there was no slack left. No margin, no version of I can walk away from this that didn't feel like total collapse. Same era, same country. One man was never trapped because he never let the cage get built. The other built his own cage, brick by brick, one upgrade at a time, and called it success the whole way up. That's the actual lesson buried in all of this, and it's not quit your high-paying job. It's not that simple, and a lot of these roles genuinely are worth the trade-off for a defined, limited window. The lesson is that golden handcuffs are only a trap for as long as they stay invisible. The moment you name the exact number, the exact date, and the exact reason you're staying, the handcuffs stop being handcuffs. They become a plan with a deadline. Derek is still in that glass conference room some nights, but now there's a date on his calendar. March, when the second tranche clears. And a number next to it that he actually knows off the top of his head. He's not staying because he's afraid to leave anymore. He's staying because, for now, the math still works and he's the one who ran it. The people who get out don't usually announce it. They don't post the triumphant essay. They just quietly stop treating the cage as permanent, run the actual numbers instead of the vague dread. One day, the badge just doesn't work anymore and nobody's particularly surprised because they'd already left mentally months before. Figure out your number, figure out your date, and stop letting a vesting schedule make your life decisions for you. I'm not a financial advisor and this isn't financial advice. If this one hit close to home, subscribe and hit the like button. It genuinely helps this reach more people stuck in the same glass room Derek's in tonight.